welcome back to my channel. This week we are going to be making another classic Prohibition era cocktail. This is called The Last Word. It was invented supposedly at the Detroit, I say supposedly because you really never know with these stories, the Detroit Athletic Club during Prohibition times, and was apparently their most expensive cocktail on the menu. I'm sure that was something like 2 cents at the time. Some people say that perhaps it was invented there even earlier than that, but who knows? So the cocktail was invented back then in the Detroit Athletic Club. It then pretty much faded out into insignificance and did not resurface until after the Second World War, and didn't really become popular again until 2004, when I think a bartender at a bar in Seattle decided to stick it on the menu there, and people realized how delicious it was and started making it again. So, as far as ingredients go, the recipe originally was all equal parts, but I have kind of tinkered a little bit and tried the Difford's Guide recipe and sort of found my own happy medium, which is slightly different to the original equal parts. So it's going to be 1 ounce of dry gin, then it's going to be 3/4 of an ounce of green Chartreuse, 3/4 of an ounce of maraschino liqueur, and 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. And then you're going to want to get a cherry for garnish. I know Chartreuse is really expensive and difficult to come by, but I know they do sell it in a small bottle, and you can't really swap it out for anything. It is a very unique kind of flavour, made by monks in France. They have all different kinds. There's green, there's yellow, there's like a special vegetal elixir that comes in a little wooden bottle. If you ever find yourself in France and see this stuff on a menu to try, or see a bottle, I think it's slightly more reasonably priced in France, 100% give it a try. They also have all these like VEP ones which are aged for longer, and I had one at a restaurant. They had like a whole list at the end of their drinks list of all the different Chartreuse that they had, and so I tried one of the older ones and it was exceptional. So yes, if you ever see it, give it a go. So let's get started. That's going to be 1 ounce of dry gin. You almost start to wonder if there was a single Prohibition era cocktail that didn't contain gin. 3/4 of an ounce of the Chartreuse. This stuff, if you've never had it before, it's incredibly herbal and very alcoholic and very sweet. 55%. That is pretty hefty, so it is really enjoyable on its own, but very tiny sips I would advise, which also helps given how bloody expensive it is. 3/4 of an ounce of maraschino, and finally 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. If you see this on a menu at a bar, when going to bars is something that we can do again in the future hopefully, definitely order it if you've never had one before. It's a great cocktail, and because Chartreuse is hard to find and maybe you don't want to go out and buy a whole bottle of it not knowing what it tastes like, I'd say definitely order the cocktail if you see it on a list, or ask. They might have some Chartreuse behind the bar and be able to make it for you, and that way you can kind of see whether this is your kind of thing. And I'm sure you'll probably fall in love and want to buy the Chartreuse. So we're going in with 3 ice cubes, and we're going to shake for about 10 to 15 seconds. Okay, we've got a nice frosty tumbler. Let's just shake off the excess. There's always a little bit left in here afterwards, and I always feel like, especially if you're making drinks for other people, it's a bit like when you're cooking and the chef gets, their own little corner of the lasagna or whatever. The little bit that's left in here, that's like the little chef's remainder for you. So I'm going to double strain, because sometimes lime can be really pithy and I don't want any of that spoiling my drink. And we're going for Nick and Nora because it's a Prohibition era drink. Why not? The only thing with double straining is I swear that as soon as you get the first bits of pith, they just kind of completely lock up the sieve. Anyway, there we go. Now we're going to garnish with cherries. You can use brandied cherries, maraschino cherries, cherries that are just in syrup. These are just in a syrup, they're not in alcohol. Whatever you've got, whatever takes your fancy. I just wouldn't recommend those really luridly coloured glacé cherries. They are kind of disgusting, but also kind of fun at the same time. I don't know, I don't like the flavour, but if there's one around, I always eat it. It's just a sort of childhood nostalgia thing. So I'm going to pop that on here. And there you go. So I guess I'm going to have to now take this off because I need to try the drink. So this is the last word. Oh god, it smells so good. The herbal notes of the Chartreuse, and then a little bit of the sort of cherry sweetness from the maraschino and the freshness from the lime. Unbeatable. So without further ado, cheers, and let's give it a taste. Very satisfying. It's kind of green, a little bit herbaceous and vegetal, but not overwhelmingly so at all. It's not savoury by any means. And it's very well balanced. You've got the nice kind of mellowing out that the maraschino does to kind of temper the hotness of the Chartreuse. You'll know what I mean if you've ever sipped it on its own. It is quite hot. Yeah, it's just a delicious drink. Let's have another sip. Yeah, unbeatable classic. Definitely give it a try if you can find some Chartreuse. I know that they also make yellow Chartreuse. I'm not sure how that would work here. I've actually never had the yellow Chartreuse, so I can't comment. But I should put that on the list of things that I next want to buy and try, and I will get back to you. In an ideal world, one would be sponsored by Chartreuse and just have endless supplies of all their different VPs and yeah, anyway, a girl can fantasize. So cheers, and I hope you enjoyed that cocktail recipe. Please hit the subscribe and like buttons below, and I will see you next week for another drink.